Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Lisa and in this video you're going to see how I've completed this tiger from start to finish. This is one of 3 videos for this piece. There are 2 other videos which are real-time tutorials of how I've completed the eye, and the other one is how I've completed the nose. So make sure to check them out because they are in real time and you can follow along and draw an eye and a nose in real time. For this video we're mainly going to be focusing on the fur technique and the different values and colours that I've used. And remember, if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe for more tutorials to come in the future. So if any of these techniques have helped today, remember to let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to see anything in particular in the future, make sure to put that in the comments below as well. And if you'd like to see all of my pieces that I've completed, you can also check me out on Instagram. But for now, let's get started drawing the tiger. So like I said before, for the eye and the nose on this piece, you can check out the other videos and see how I've done this in real time. But for this eye, there were a lot of colours in here. So there was like oranges and purples and blues and whites and browns, and yeah, it was very tricky to get correct. So if you're interested in learning how to do the eye, make sure to check out that other video. Starting with the fur around the face, so when you're putting in these whiter, lighter sections, I usually start with a warm grey one as a base and then start to work in a little bit darker with the warm grey one, making sure to follow the direction that the fur is going. Then you can build up to darker colours, so in this case for the whiter section I did a warm grey 3. And then just lightly going in, putting in light lines, and then building up with mid-tones such as the sky blue, Delft blue, and the purple violet. Making sure to pay really close attention to your reference photo because you want to get the fur in the direction that the fur is going on the face, and also the same length that it is on the face. So if you're going in on the face with really long fur strokes, it isn't going to look realistic because there are really short furs on the face. So moving on to the ear, I did this in little sections. So for me, if I go into a big area like the whole ear and just put down sort of light layers everywhere, it sort of takes you a long while to sort of figure out where everything is. So I work on it sort of in sections and then move on to another section and then come back and darken everything up and then complete that, sort of keep going in that process. For the middle of the ear here, I did use some solvent blender, which is the Zest-It solvent blender, just with a paintbrush to make sure that it gets nice and smooth. So, because sometimes if you're going into an area that's really black and dark, you can't get it as deep and dark as you need it just with the color pencils. So using a blender is really helpful to make it nice and smooth and get that really deep effect. For the ear as well, I did use an embossing tool. So I went into some of the lighter sections and then did some embossing lines over into the dark section. So that will make sure that you can see the white lines over the dark section, because sometimes if you go into a really dark section and then try to put white pencil over it, you just can't see it at all. So it's good to go in with the embossing tool. You can also check out my leopard tutorial because that has a really good section about embossing tool, and I show you how I did the whiskers in the leopard as well, which is the same technique that I did for this tiger. So when it comes to doing the dark stripes on the tiger, I sort of went in with a lighter brown color, so maybe like a nougat or the burnt ochre, and then it just got the shape that I wanted. And then I also went in with the Delft Blue, because if you have a look in a lot of the shadows on this tiger, there are a lot of sort of Delft Blue colors and purpley blue colors. So I wanted to make sure that it wasn't so flat just by going in fully with the dark sepia and with darker colors. So I went in with the Delft Blue and then in with the dark sepia. So to get the effect that the whiter furs are going over the dark furs and then the darker furs are going over the white furs, you want to flick your dark sepia pencil out to the left or to the right of the stripe just to give it the effect that the fur is covering over it and it's not all in one flat line. So one of the main things to make sure when you are doing fur technique like this is you just need a really, really sharp pencil. So to get all of those really little tiny details, it's good to make sure you're sharpening your pencil quite often. You can also get a sanding block. So these are quite cheap, only about $2 or $3 from usual craft shops. And then you can sort of rub your pencil on it and sharpen it right up. It gives a really, really sharp point. The only problem is that it doesn't last very long, but it does get those really small details in there and stops you from sharpening your pencils too much, because it can get expensive if you're, sharpening your pencil every couple of strokes. So a really sharp pencil for fur like this is really key to making sure you get heaps of detail in there. So for me, one of the hardest parts of a piece like this is usually the ridge of the nose, only because it's such a sort of big section and you want to get it sort of all looking the same, but you need to make sure that you're getting all of the darker and lighter tones in there so that you're getting the shape and the bone structure of the animal. You'll also need to make sure that you're going in when you're shading just with really small strokes and really small like back and forth motion. If you go in with really, really long strokes, then it's going to make it look like the fur is really long. And we all know that on animals' faces, the fur on their nose is always really quite small and short. So first of all, you go in with your sort of base tone of the warm grey one, and then in with the yellower tones, and then in with the orange. So you're building up to the darker colours. And then by the end, you're sort of adding in the burnt sienna, walnut brown, and the dark sepia in small little fur strokes to predict that small fur on the nose. So for the nose and the whiskers, remember I said I went in with an embossing tool. So making sure to use sort of a thick ball point on your embossing tool. Really long, straight sweeps of the embossing tool, making sure to put a little bit of a curve to it, because whiskers don't just go straight, they go in a bit of a curve, and you need to make sure that they're sort of lapping over each other to make it look a little bit more realistic rather than just soldiers in a line. And when you're shading over the embossed lines, making sure not to go in with too hard of a pressure, because you don't want to go into those embossed lines, but you still want to go in around them to fill in all of the darker sections so that you really make those whiskers stand out and they really pop. But when it comes to fur and textures like this, it really just does take practice. So you need to sort of practice and make sure you're getting all of the different tones and colors in there and all of the values are correct. So as long as all the values are correct, your piece is going to look pretty good, and also the proportions are correct. So making sure you have a really good outline will make sure that it looks realistic, and then you can build up from there and create a piece like this. So remember to tag me on Instagram if you do a piece like this, or comment in the comments below to let me know what's helped and what you would like to see next. Remember to check out the other two videos of the nose and the eye, because they are so helpful for techniques like this. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Like a